dynamic, and here we go. We're about to jump in to pick in ban here, 9.4. I'm a little bit sad, Atlas.
Why is that?
Karthus,
Oh,
Spirit's
he took
playing.
5 damage off his Q. Nerf to the ground,
Absolutely,
LS.
just,
oh my goodness. Well, Na got buffed, as you saw.
Yeah,
so,
I saw that.
So
That's
that
the
means that
important thing.
Flame definitely going to be playing Na, guaranteed. Certainly no chance that he won't be picking that one up. Better ban it away, Afreeca Freecs. Of course, guys, we're referring to a very, very small buff, and not one that's going to be all that relevant. In this game, most likely, Zoe and Nocturne going to be the first couple of bans here away from DWG Gaming, and we're looking towards the bottom side of the map as Soul's couple of champions have been taken away. Of course, Lucian, we saw him yesterday in the hands of Teddy. I don't want to see it again. I mean, that was disgusting. He even got ganked early on in the game and still looked like the champion was busted.
Yeah. And right now, Afreeca banning away the Sylas because they're on blue side, so Sylas is obviously a champion that wants to come in as a team comp counter. It does surprise me a little bit because I would assume that Brook would be on some sort of an unorthodox champion maybe, and that's why he's getting put in here today.
Okay, so you came to me for the statistics, right? Obviously.
Hit me with it.
Obviously you came to me for the statistics. Brook has a 100% Jace play rate in the LCK. It was a loss, and it was one game.
All right.
His experience comes down to 1 game's worth, and his other stage experience was 2017 Kesper Cup, playing for the Gyeonggi squad that qualified into Kesper by Kesper's other competition that you have to get in here. He played Maokai, singed, and then Maokai
Finish
again,
me
baby.
off.
It was not exactly a lot of information that I was able to gather from Brook, and of course he plays for the Afreeca Freecs, so good luck finding anything else. As we have come through this pick phase quite thick and fast, as the Rise has been augmented by Sivir and Lissandra, and there is the Galio Ezreal locked in for DAMWON Gaming so far. Ezreal, certainly a huge name that didn't get on the ban list, and after Nuclear's most recent performance, I think that might be a whoopsie. I might put it in the whoopsie column.
Well, Galio Ezreal locked in for a safe and sturdy bottom lane, and now DAMWON locking in the Syndra as an answer to the Lissandra. Lissandra, yeah. As Sivir was already picked up by Afreeca. Now, as we move into the second ban phase, with only one jungler having been pinched, I would actually be very surprised to see junglers pinched away over supports instead. So, probably just going to remove supports away from the Sivir. Yorick now being banned away.
Yeah, Flame not going to be getting on that one. I've had a sneak peek into Flame's match history, and he's been playing a hell of a lot of Vladimir, and Vladimir hasn't been banned away just yet. And generally, up against DWG Gaming, you want to ban the Vlad. This time around, though, Afreeca Freecs are lucky. Not going to have to deal with it in the hands of Showmaker because he's shown his hand. The Syndra is certainly going into the mid lane. Rek'Sai took a long time to get banned away, but will be taken off the board. Of course, 9.4. Sees her making her re-debut into the jungle. It was good to see her in the hands of Clid. Not so good seeing her elsewhere.
Lee Sin banned away because there is quite a lot of magic damage actually present on both of these teams. So the Rek'Sai and Lee Sin bans aren't that surprising. Probably means Olaf or something like that is likely to be coming up. There it is.
Yeah, Olaf being looked at. The other option would, of course, be the Tahm Kench, but going to go for that aggressive jungle choice instead. And, of course, the Galio is still there. Theoretically, a flex pick towards the top side of the map, but not likely to be going into the hands of Flame. So that should be the Ezreal Galio on the bottom side. Almost got tricked into thinking that Galio was anything but a support.
Kha'Zix is being hovered right now, and I think this would be a really poor decision because he doesn't really have easy access to any of the champions on DWG Gaming. And right now, Afreeca is already outranged via the Syndra and the Ezreal, and even if you're going to have a reliance on a Sivir ultimate, there's anti-synergy in the itemization spikes for these champions. They come online at different times due to the difference in the gold cost for their items, but also the fact that Rise has a quest to complete. And so with that being said, now they're hovering Pike too, they're funneling into this extremely all-in Smork composition. I think the player actually doesn't know what's going on either. He's pondering, did we just pick 2 aggressive champions into Ezreal and Syndra while we're all extremely short range? Don't do it to me. Aatrox is being hovered.
Yeah. Would be going into the hands of Flame, most likely. Although, I guess, in theory, Olaf could be heading towards the top side of the map, but not likely to happen. As, okay, there we go. Aatrox up towards the top side. It feels like Summit was the sort of last bastion of Aatrox play that we've been impressed with
Right.
in the LCK. But otherwise, it really has been a relatively forgettable pick. A lot of these teams really like playing around Aatrox purely because the team fights work in a specific way, right? He goes in with World Ender, he causes a ruckus in the backline, and that is how you're able to get your free damage onto the front line, right? You can understand how the team fight is supposed to work if you're playing around an Aatrox, and a lot of these teams got used to it, and you can understand why it's still being picked. However, I feel like his laning phase is just trash. So we'll see whether he can be piloted well here by Flame. Certainly experience is not in question, but we'll see whether the old man mechanics are going to work out here for the man on the top side for DWG Gaming.
I'm going to take one last quick look at the team compositions, talk about what each of them want to do. So here for Afreeca, Sivir, Alistar, Lissandra, Kha'Zix, and Ryze. So obviously this team, they want to go in, they want to look for these pseudo types of picks with Lissandra. And they have access to a 1-3-1, although I do think that it's going to be quite weak, given the Ryze and the Lissandra aren't going to have the best of time moving the champions on DAMWON. Aatrox, Olaf, Syndra, Ezreal, and Galio. These champions just need to wait until 2 and 3 items, and even though they have some anti-scaling present on the Olaf, it's not really going to matter all that much because the range is just there for them.
Yeah.
And so, as long as they play safe and sturdy, they have red side jungle, they're able to turtle that, deny Baron. I don't know how Afreeca is actually supposed to win an even game.
Well, we'll see whether they can as we get onto the Rift for game number 1. Okay, here we are. Let's see whether Afreeca Freecs can tidy up their gameplay and take something here to DWG Gaming, who are on an incredible winning streak. At the moment, the thing that I want to talk about is the Syndra pick. The first time we saw her here in the LCK, it was abysmal. It did not work out at all, but recently we've seen players like Tempt really shine on this pickup, and I feel like Syndra works extraordinarily well with a high-pressure jungler. And you look at the Hands of Punch, he's managed to get himself the Olaf, he had his Lee Sin banned away, his Lee Sin has of course been phenomenal. But with the Olaf there, it means that they're going to have a guaranteed pushing lane in mid, because that's exactly what Syndra is going to provide for you, and it will open up the door for the Olaf to really cause a ruckus into Dread, who is going to take some time to not be an incredibly squishy Kha'Zix that can get preyed upon by the Olaf.
And I think that with the way that these lane setups are, Ezreal and Galio are able to be self-sustaining down there in the bottom lane. The only real potential issue could actually come for Aatrox up in top lane, so wouldn't be surprised to just see Olaf end up going into a Folk there. In fact, I would think that anything other than that would be a pretty poor decision, and Dread, if he ends up reading it correctly, should go for one as well, even though the onus is actually going to be on Dread to make sure that the middle lane does not go catastrophically, and to also ensure that, you know, his laners don't get ganked at all by the Olaf around level 4 and 5, and already we're taking quite a bit of damage, but this is Lissandra's playstyle. She expends all of her mana, trades it for her HP, you end up poking her, you don't have teleport because you're forced to take cleanse, and then she's able to come back into the lane, and so you're basically fighting against 1.5 champions.
Okay. Well, at the moment, Brook is receiving the poor end of the spheres, coming out of Showmaker, who has been relatively impressive with his skill shots at the moment, making sure he reapplies Airy as often as possible here in this lane. And Syndra has been one of those champions that players want to flex with, and speaking of flexing, the Taunt is going to land here onto Sol. Punch comes down, though, and he's going to wrap around behind the Afreeca Freecs bottom lane. Senin already very low as Showmaker. Down below 100 health is Brook. Has to flash to get out of the way. No ignite, of course, so is going to be okay. But a flash before 3 minutes hits is bad news for the mid laner of the Afreeca Freecs, who is also the sub-top lane of the Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, this is a really bad position to be in mid lane. As Brook, you don't want to have to be recalling this soon, and he ended up buying boots, not even a Darksteel. So he's not going to have access to the extra mana or the passive, which is going to make it more difficult, and we can see that Showmaker gets a really good recall timing. Lissandra's actually going to be hard-pressed to shove in the wave, and then lane priority will end up going over to Showmaker as soon as he returns to the lane. He has a massive XP advantage, he has the Darksteel, the Fairy Charm, and everything is just going really bad across the map, with the exception being top lane right now.
Yeah,
for
things going
Afreeca.
okay for Keen, but of course that has been the story. That's exactly what we expect from Afreeca. Keen does well, everybody else is not exactly in the greatest position, and then the hard carry attempt comes in from Keen as there's a stun down in the mid lane, but you can see Showmaker just flexing his muscles, making sure that Brook isn't going to be in range for even a Q onto this minion wave without taking a spear to the face.
Lots of pressure coming out from Showmaker, and what he's doing is Brook is endlessly queuing these minions, and in doing so, he's chipping some of them at very awkward timings, and so it can cause him to miss CS like this. Showmaker could actually zone him out of the XP here. Very surprised that he's not doing it. He's gank immune to Kha'Zix, given the fact that he has the cleanse. And with the minions in such close proximity, there's no isolation damage. Brook is playing this really poorly.
Not to mention the fact that...
These Qs are abysmal.
Oh, my God.
What? Oh. Forgot. Let me give you some antonyms. Those are great Qs.
No, it was more your pronunciation that I had a problem with. The Qs were certainly abysmal. You're exactly right. Brook was not exactly having the best time over there. Well, I do like this because Showmaker can do this for multiple reasons, right? You already illustrated the fact that he's gank immune based on the cleanse, but he's also gank immune based on the fact that if Punch finds Dread at any stage, he's going to win. And their 2v2 is just ludicrous in comparison, as Showmaker is just throwing beach balls at Brook, and Brook can't do anything. He's like the little kid at the beach, you know, and the beach, he just doesn't know how to catch, right? And the beach ball just keeps hitting him in the face over and over again. And we might even have a turret plate going down as 44-26. What is this autofill ruckus that's happening here in our mid lane?
And B-Rook is getting absolutely annihilated here in the middle lane.
Oh, there's the flash forward. Unleashed Power comes out, and Showmaker finds it with the scat of the week. The flash forward from Dread. Showmaker not going to be able to hit him with anything as Punch turns up, but a little bit too late. You'll take it, though. First blood going over to DAMWON. Keen in trouble here as Flames going aggressive on the Aatrox. Like I mentioned, you know, he went to Oshak Hennessy's office, and once he was there, he learned the error of his ways by the looks.
Showmaker told B-Rook to go there, so
yeah, well,
that's what just happened a moment ago.
Is that what we're going to call the death chamber, Oshak Hennessy's office? I really hope I hope you guys at home have actually watched Key and Peele, because otherwise this would be a very confusing conversation. As this isn't confusing, this is Showmaker hitting level 6, throwing some spheres at his lane opponent, and getting first blood, and then being immediately answered because he's in between two turrets, which is certainly a bad news story. Has himself his lost chapter, and he's up against a couple of rings.
He's up against double Darkseal, and I feel like a lot of players that do this don't totally understand why they do it. Oftentimes you'll see professional players or something doing a build and people just follow suit without thinking, well, what's the reasoning for doing this? You get the double Darkseals in lanes where you're naturally supposed to have priority so that you can just expend the mana to endlessly shove in the wave, have permanent priority, convert them into chip damage, get plates, and utilize that to gain control for you and your jungler. That's not a thing that you do when you're behind. You're not trying to just permanently push in the wave and stunt your own item build, because the Lissandra actually can't get priority in this lane anymore because she's too far behind.
Yeah.
There's no vision to secure because the jungler's behind because of how behind you are in mid. So this is a pretty classic example of someone not thinking about the items that they're building and instead just going on autopilot.
You can sort of understand why he's gone for it, just because he's like, oh, well, I'm getting harassed a lot, and therefore I want to have the extra sustain that you get out from it. Nuclear... Sorry, Showmaker not going to quite find the scat of the week as in goes Brook. Does have an ultimate available here as Punch wants to get some damage down, and Unleashed Power is not enough from Showmaker. In goes Barrel, wants to find the flash, but isn't going to be able to do so, and that is a big deal for the Afreeca Freecs. Brook does have to use his flash, but will get some Dark Seal stacks and some well-earned money.
And that's a big pickup for Brook because he was having a really rough time in mid. Now, right now, Dread is being locked up in that middle lane. Punch is falling behind quite considerably, actually, in the experience department, which is surprising. And
yeah, this is what we weren't expecting, right? This is what's happened in this game that hasn't gone to plan here for DAMWON, and it's the fact that Punch, on the Olaf, hasn't been able to exert any dominance over Dread, who's really had his way with the jungle at this point.
And Flame coming in here. Keen.
Yeah, Punch is going to turn up. This is going to be so much damage.
Oh, God.
Oh, no. Yeah. You need to go find yourself a mool tissue, a moist towelette or something like that. That was in the conversation yesterday between Valdez and Pop Smithy.
Well, oh jeez.
Yeah, that was not great. Fail flash coming in from Punch, and that means the Keen is going to survive. Flame still has priority here in this lane, but still a bad news story is at least the flash did have to be used, and Flame holds on to his. Dread taking a lot of damage here behind the Ocean Drake as True Shot Barrage is going to tag him up under 300 health, but will still be able to take down the Ocean. DAMWON not wanting to fight for it.
9.5-minute Ocean Drake here, but in doing so, he did end up conceding his left side jungle.
That is true.
Does get the Ocean Drake for his team, but when you're an engage comp like this, with the Lissandra, the Ryze, the Kha'Zix, the Sivir, you're trying to press on the hunt, you're using the Lissandra Claw to move forward and engage and lock up an opponent. You're not trying to take these sustained periodic pokes or siege type plays. So the Ocean Drake doesn't really do that much for you unless you get Baron later in the game.
Or unless you sit in a laning phase for, you know, the next 15 minutes of the game, which is unlikely to happen. So I completely understand your point. Brook and Shannon hanging out here in the mid lane. We saw Dread turning up as well just to make sure that Brook doesn't die again. But if this is where your pressure has to be used, that's when you know that Showmaker is certainly doing his job. He has his flash back up in a couple of seconds. It means that then he will be able to go for these aggressive plays. Brook intelligently bought himself some magic resist in the Mercury Treads. It means he won't be stunned by the Scatter the Weak too easily, or at least for too long. But Showmaker still not going to be perturbed from that one. He can just clear out these minion waves so incredibly quickly, and that is the sort of advantage that you're going to get by picking the Syndra in this mid lane. And on top of that, Showmaker also playing with reckless abandon. Here in this lane means that he will be able to be up 25 CS and also a bunch of extra pressure for Punch as well. But whether Punch can actually utilize that or not is the question that we've had. And right now, clearing a control ward and not actually getting the money because it's getting replaced is not exactly exerting your dominance on the map.
Well, it does look like they have potential interest of going for the Rift Herald, or trying to at least clear vision on the left-hand side. They place a control ward down, clear out a ward.
Yeah, Dread was spotted, of course, and Flame had a bit of priority there towards the top side of the map. The wave gets cleared out by Keen, and that means that DAMWON have to leave the river, and the vision control is going to go back into the hands of the Afreeca Freecs. So it feels like playing around Keen has certainly been working so far for the Afreeca Freecs, and Brook getting that kill back has really saved that mid lane when it comes to the Lissandra being relevant or not. Still, another engagement comes down here as Worldender is invested, but not going to get the next knock-up, and Flame not wanting to get his use his flash in order to do so.
And I think that Flame, yeah, he's going to have to back off right here. Keen's going to be able to crash this wave.
Oh, that would have been a very dangerous face check if he had jumped on top of Dread. Without Worldender, not a lot of options here as Punch comes on over, throws an axe in the brush here.
Ended up spotting him, though.
Now the Brambleback is going to come back up, and Punch is going to start that one off. Showmaker clears out the minion wave and will be able to be here to one-shot the Kha'Zix if he goes anywhere near this Syndra. We know that that is something that is going to happen, but that's the smite away. And Dread just steals it from under the nose of the Olaf.
Punch has Smite, and Syndra has an ability that can actually pick up a camp and throw it away from an enemy champion. And if you use that together, let me tell you what it does, Alice.
It guarantees the camp?
You can throw the camp next to your jungler, and then he can locate the D key while his mouse cursor is on top of it. If you do that, you will end up being provided with a red buff.
Oh, and then what does that do? Provides you with slow on your auto attacks? I mean, Punch doesn't know either because he didn't manage to get it, dude. Wasn't in the cards, unfortunately, for the Olaf. So another whoopsie in a row for Punch. Not exactly having the greatest day so far. As Rift Herald immediately going to be expended top side of the map. Perfect timing for the Afreeca Freecs, and Insult will be added to injury once again as Keen's going to get all of the turret plates and first turret gold over to his Ryze, 610. That's juicy. And despite it being relatively even there towards the top side in every other metric, That turret going down means that it's over 1,000 gold advantage for the Rise.
Yeah, and Keen is doing fantastic this game, and now Afreeca with a slight gold advantage despite all the pressure that came out early on. In the mid lane, you can see Lissandra was actually able to hang on to all of the turret plates, which is actually really quite surprising.
Yeah, well, I mean, all but one of them, but you could imagine that getting more than that was certainly what Showmaker was expecting from himself as Dread takes an undertow to the face. Vision going to get cleared here from Punch, but it just hasn't been the Olaf performance that we've come to expect from players like Bono that really had breakout performances on the champion. We know what this guy's capable of, but it just feels like it's not the same champion being wielded here by DWG Gaming.
Someone posturing for the Mountain Dragon, and this would be a massive pickup for them as Afreeca, they would have an extremely hard time in later stages, even more so now, penetrating turrets and whatnot, but we're going to have an all-in fight.
Yeah, and it's going to be stolen away there as Punch has to go golden in the backline. Brook going to get stunned up, but still has a lot of damage potential. That's another kill going over to Dread as Flame finally cleans that one up, has used his flash though, and will go down in the backline after the World Ender wears off. Keen looking to go aggressive and could have bounced a Q off that fluxed up Showmaker, but doesn't do so. Freecs just take the win and their second dragon of the game as Showmaker comes down onto Brook. A lot of damage there, and that's just all too easy. And a huge mistake from the mid laner of the Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, the Lissandra is not having the easiest of games so far here, and DWG end up giving up the Mountain Drake, which is a really, really big loss for them, as this does mean that now Afreeca, they potentially just have very early Baron potential with that Rise and the Sivir, along with the Kha'Zix, and now DWG Gaming, without any neutral objective on the map, they should probably just sit back and try to get scaling going on the Ezreal and the Syndra. We'll take a look at it one more time. All the members of DAMWON were not in the pit and damaging the dragon. Punch ends up blowing his stopwatch for nothing. Nuclear goes over on the left-hand side, but Afreeca's angle and positioning in this fight was too good, given the way that DAMWON mishandled the approach to the dragon.
Not to mention the fact that Sivir with an Infinity Edge honestly was untouched. It was like she was invisible throughout that entire fight, if you were to watch what she was doing. And this was just a straight-up mistake coming in from Brook. All too easy there for Nuclear to pick up that kill. And the Freecs go back to cleaning up things here in the mid lane. Outer turrets on both side lanes have gone down for Afreeca, and that is why they're in the lead based on these neutral objectives. But still, 1,000 gold is nothing to worry about here for DWG, and their composition will work well as this game keeps on going, right? Well, see whether they can navigate it. That being said, I mean, the hyper late game is still 500 CS, Sivir win condition with Brook causing a ruckus and Keen doing a heck of a lot of damage there as well. Scaling is certainly not something that the Afreeca Freecs are worried about, but I'm looking at DWG Gaming's mid-game power, and with the 2 items now on the Ezreal, it certainly is going to be something that Afreeca has to play around for the next little while.
And if you're Afreeca right now, you need to just recognize that there's no reason to try to poke the bear or force anything, because right now they are in the driver's seat ever so slightly, but it could all just go away instantly if they just end up making one really big misstep. And DWG, like I just said, there's no dragon, there's no herald. The next dragon's a clown drake, so it's not going to be the highest of priorities for either team. So as long as they sit back, let the Ezreal get to 3 items, let the Syndra get to 3 items, and open up the one-shot potential on multiple members on the side of Afreeca, that's how DWG can slowly come back into the game. And they have the luxury of knowing that later on, around the 22-25 minute mark, they can turtle their red side jungle and deny Baron attempts from the safety of it.
Yeah.
And it becomes very difficult for Afreeca to actually operate anything of a split push without Keen on that Rise.
Not to mention the fact that Showmaker is the one that's accelerated here on the side of DWG, as well as Nuclear picking up that most recent kill. These are the 2 champions that really need to hit damage caps, right? It needs to hit a breakpoint, especially for Syndra, and she has got there, right? Oblivion Orb, as well as the Sork Boots for the double pen, as well as that Luden's Echo now being completed. And Sol, he's only got 1 spell shield, and when you ult anyone, you're going to be doing a whole bunch of damage. A whole bunch of different times here if you are the Syndra, so If it gets to the point where Soul just gets one-shot by the Syndra, that's when you just can't teamfight anymore as the Afreeca Freecs, unless you can position very well around where this Syndra is.
Right now, Keen with the Seraph's Embrace and the Oblivion Orb. Not the biggest fan of going Oblivion Orb when the enemy team has already shown you that they are going to go into the magic resist department. Although I do suppose that the Morellonomicon can help out against some of the healing that's present on DAMWON Gaming.
Yeah, it's not too bad. That being said, I mean, it's not exactly a comp going up against all of the lifesteal in the world. As Keen, decent position here to get some free damage onto the Olaf. Ragnarok already popped as Brook comes on in, but isn't going to be able to lock anything down. It feels like Punch is having a real off day today.
I think someone spiked his punch.
Oh.
You know, I think maybe something's going a little bit wrong there.
Yeah. Hasn't been a great look for him so far. That being said, can't give up on DAMWON Gaming at this point still. You have to remember that this squad is 6 victories in a row and did not struggle against the Afreeca Freecs last time around, but the games look very different to this. True Shot Barrage going to tag Keen. He's the man that you have to keep your eye on as you're talking about quests to complete. The first one is done. The Seraph's Embrace transformation has come in. And still just looking to augment his build with even more damage. Taking the Phase Rush does have the passive, so there's going to be shields abound, as you can see. Now with that Seraph, it's going to be even more difficult to lock him down, as Flame's going to meet him on the bottom side of the map. Finally has himself an item built up, as Flame completes the Black Cleaver is his first item of choice.
Interestingly enough, I actually don't think that Righteous Glory is that bad of an item choice if he would elect to go it a little bit later on. There's a lot of physical damage on the side of DAMWON, and just the active would really help getting onto the Syndra or the Ezreal or doing something to Aatrox inside of a split.
Yeah.
So
we saw it was Pawn that picked up the Righteous Glory on the Rise most recently. Has a bit of mana on it, so you're not going to be too worried about grabbing that one on the Rise. Some synergies.
Right now, Ocean Drake going to be coming up next. Again, not a very high priority Drake, and even if you're a Afreeca and thinking to yourselves, well, we can get 2 Drakes, it doesn't really do anything due to the way that the team composition operates and conducts itself. It's not like you're going to take, again, a siege or some sort of a poke underneath a turret and then back up a little bit, wait for a minion wave, and then fire off again. So not the highest value dragons, and all this is really doing is allowing DAMWON to keep getting more and more items, and they've locked this game almost permanently at just a 1k gold deficit here.
Yeah, and they've allowed Nuclear to pick up his second tier. He's going towards it, does have the Muramana transformation, so we've got a transformation each on both sides of the map now. And the Ezreal is going to become more and more difficult to deal with, and with the fact that Soul is sitting on 2 items and Ezreal is almost getting towards his 3rd and epic power spike in the double tier stack, that's when DAMWON are going to be able to cause a lot of problems for the Afreeca Freecs. And Nuclear has shown us that he is one of the Ezreals that needs to be respected here in the LCK.
Right now, Rise getting a lot of value in the
Barrel might just be dead here, though, guys, as he does go golden. Punch is going to turn up, and Nuclear gets in there. That's a very aggressive Arcane Shift. There's a lot of damage down onto Sen, and we're going to trade the supports as Keen gets right in amongst it. Showmaker is deleted, trades his life for the jungler, but that is not what you want as the mid laner, and a lot of the damage that is available here for DAMWON Gaming. It's an even trade in the end, but not exactly the trade of champions that you wanted if you're a DAMWON fan.
Yeah. And right now, it does look like they are going to go for the mid turret. I actually think that Afreeca just lost out on an opportunity to delete the Ezreal. If they do a flash Rune Prison as the Lissandra Claw just gets started on the channel, I think they would have actually been able to bring him down underneath the turret. But regardless, this fight starts off with Beryl getting caught out. Alistar doesn't really matter about his ultimate against the true damage from Olaf, and then you can see Nuclear trying to do the most damage that he can. Showmaker gets deleted at the top, and then Keen right here obviously doesn't want to flash, as Flame still has his ultimate persisting on, and then we did not get to see the potential flash opportunity onto the easy reel.
Yeah. Not quite there, but they were able to take down their last remaining outer turret that was left on the map. The gold is not going to change, however. And we mentioned that the fact that the trade of champions was, of course, even.
Uh-oh.
As, yeah. Looking to try and jump here onto Soul as Flame doesn't have ultimate. He does have flash, has to use it. Blast Cone's there. that's not going to be enough. The Spell Flux doesn't get the damage done, and Flame does hold on to his life. But guys, this is getting real scary for the Aatrox in a side lane.
And this is, you know, something I sort of like to see, I'll be honest, Atlas. I like seeing the Aatrox that can't heal off side lane minions anymore and has a reliance on getting grossly ahead, finally getting straightened up in the split push.
But I mean, I feel like we've seen it a lot of times. The Aatrox not necessarily working. I like it more than the Camille pick that Rascal was recently successful on. You can understand why you'd use it in dive compositions pairing up with the Jarvan. But Linderung certainly demonstrated that the pick can sometimes be absolutely useless. And this Aatrox is feeling like it's asking a lot of similar questions. Is Spell Shield not up here or not used for Soul in the mid lane? And DAMWON getting routed back to their inner turret in the mid lane. And it just feels like there is too much pressure being exerted here by the Afreeca Freecs. A lot of vision availability for the squad as well as Brook. Going to come up, knows that these members of DAMWON are hanging around in the area. This control ward is going to survive for the moment.
This is a good spot to be in right now for Afreeca. You know that the Rise is impervious, essentially, on the side lanes. You can't even just threaten to bring the Galio with the Aatrox because Rise will just 1v2.
Yeah.
He's going to recall right now. I would really like to see Righteous Glory on him because then Aatrox just cannot run away. But instead, it looks like he's going to end up going Banshee's Veil.
Or Zhonya's and a Void Staff,
yeah,
which I would personally like a lot. But if he doesn't have to use the stopwatch, why build the Zhonya's? Because you'll still have the active in a team fight, so may as well build whatever comes first here for Keen. Does have himself a whole bunch of CDR at the moment. 40% is already racked up. Transcendence will be activated as well, depending on what he's taken. But with the Phase Rush sitting there, I'd see no reason why he wouldn't have that one, so a bit more adaptive damage most likely. In this build is Flame. Is going to try and clear out this minion wave, and Keen's going to try and clean out this top laner. As I does land the Rune Prison, Sennon's going to make his way forward as well. Flame's wishing for a fair fight, but does have to use the World Ender extraordinarily soon. And Keen is going to come on forward. That is the finish off, and that might be Beryl actually donating himself as well, because look at these Qs just smashing for so much damage. And now Punch is being dived on by Dread, who ults and dives forward. Stopwatch is going to keep him alive as Beryl is going to die. Soul grabs that kill as Keen's in the enemy base, jumping on top of DWG Gaming, but that is biting off a little more than the man can chew, and he will go down eventually.
It just pans to Lissandra, and she's just pushing. I'm helping, guys.
And there's times where I really like to do a bit of educating, you know, where we talk about a lot of things in the LCK, and one of them is zombie pushing. And what Brook was just doing is the epitome of a zombie push. The man's brain was off, and he was hitting in a turret. That's how it's been working. Is True Shot Barrage going to do a bit of damage there to Sennon, and that's not going to be the steal. Going over to Showmaker, the smite is true from Dread. And the Baron goes over to the Afreeca Freecs.
We're going to take another quick look at this replay here. So Rai is just coming in here on the Aatrox end. I'm wondering if they intentionally let Flame live as long as they did with the initial posturing to try to get the Galio to come in, because you can see, even from the very start of this, that Galio was never going to have a true grand entrance. And then I really liked what Dread did here. He went full-on engage into Punch, able to kill him with the stopwatch. I do think that the flash over from Soul was completely unnecessary. And then obviously Keen goes a little bit too reckless, flashing forward. Absolutely no reason to do that when you know that you just secured the Baron for your team. And now there should realistically be no way for DWG to survive a Smork push from Afreeca.
Well, Afreeca have certainly shown us some unique plays in the past. Oh, we learnt! See, isn't it beautiful? Able to lock that one down, and no smite available for nuclear, no worries. Here we go, guys. DWG Gaming learning on the job. Perfect. 5,000 gold going into the lead here, and the Baron power play isn't even up to 1,000 gold just yet, so we're looking for more from the Afreeca Freecs in the next 2 minutes' time. Keen, he he might need more than 3 people to take him down, but he does have a Senin in his back pocket as well, so certainly an unfair fight as Sol moves up to this inner turret. He can get some free hits off. This is definitely dead very, very soon. But with 3 members underneath this turret, DAMWON should be able to keep it alive at least until the next minion wave does turn up.
And they are posturing very slowly here. And the whole reason that Senin is with the Ryze is because as long as the Alistar is present, they can 2v3 really easy.
Oh, yeah.
Because as long as Ryze has his bodyguard, there's nothing that DAMWON is going to be able to do.
And you saw already, I mean, Keen is just so happy going up against Flame because he gets Phase Rush and then just runs around and gets out of the way of every single knockup that the Aatrox has available to himself, keeps himself at range, keeps the Aatrox at bay. Just doesn't feel like a lot of options here for Flame on the pick that we had a lot of question marks on. Last pick on red side is something that you should be getting yourself a good matchup in, and this is the opposite of that. This was, felt like Flame counter-picking himself up towards the top side of the map, and we knew, everyone knew, that it was either Lissandra or Ryze, right? So, just don't know whether the Aatrox was exactly the best option here for Flame on the top side, and we know that he's got a whole lot of different champions that he can grab for himself, and one of them he's been practicing a hell of a lot is the Vladimir that just didn't get a look at this entire draft phase for this game. So I know hindsight's 2020 and all that sort of stuff, but the Aatrox really feels like it hasn't worked out this game.
Well, the Aatrox coming in as the last pick, like you're talking about, it is really questionable because it has a reliance on getting ahead, and you can't assume that that should happen with the Ryze. And we're having a trade here.
Yeah, nice engage coming in from Beryl, actually, as the Realm Warp's going to be utilized here from Keen, but he dies too quickly. The Ezreal grabs that kill. The answer is on the top side of the map, though, as Brook, the zombie push has rung true, and the inhibitor turret does go down. Inhibitor turret also in the mid lane is taken off the board, so Keen doing his job absolutely thanklessly on the bottom side. He's going to get taken down, but the rest of his team cleans up the structures.
Yeah, and that's going to be an extremely worthwhile trade. You trade a champion's life in order to get 2 extremely key objectives.
And a lot of damage goes down onto the bottom inhibitor turret as well. There are not a lot of turrets left here for DAMWON Gaming. And if we were going to employ some sweet mathematics, that is only 3 left available on the board for DAMWON. They haven't taken even one just yet, which is actually relatively impressive because they're only 5,000 gold behind. They get themselves a Mountain Drake, the second of the decent Drakes that have actually spawned this game. And despite the huge objective lead, if the Afreeca Freecs, DAMWON have kept themselves in it, largely because Showmaker and Nuclear have been free farming in each of their respective lanes.
And the Ezreal almost going to be at 4 items here in just a bit. Minute and a half until Baron ends up coming up, and neither inhibitor has gone down, so there's still an upside for DAMWON if Showmaker can eviscerate someone at the start of a team fight, and they can definitely win a 5v4.
Well, we're still waiting for Nuclear to pick up his Hextech Gunblade. That's going to be a hell of a lot of damage availability here on this Ezreal. The True Shot Barrages are something that Afreeca Freecs are going to have to be very careful about, actually, because if you have a look at their team comp, who's going to be tanking the Baron? The best option, I guess, is Senin with an ultimate running or something like that, but you don't want to use it in case the engage does come in and he needs to frontline. Dread cannot tank the Baron for very long at all. They will just need to rip that one apart, and it means the Mountain Drake being stolen is actually way more pivotal than you would otherwise think with a lot of these comps if they are ahead or behind. And Afreeca is an example of that one. Nuclear waiting on the bottom side of the map for the Ryze to turn up, but he's not taking the bait. As you can see, it's double teleports here, bottom side, and is something that DAMWON can play around.
It was looking like a sting operation really quick. Wasn't quite sure what they were about to just do there, but Ezreal would be one of the champions that could potentially stick to and bring down the Ryze.
Really interesting pickup here from Sol, actually. Goes back, teleports back in again after picking up a Bloodthirster. I thought that BF sword was going to go towards Guardian Angel to go for that last push, but just wants to keep himself alive in these fights for as long as possible. This is out on a cannon creep, but not going to be too worried there as that overshield is getting really, really big.
And right now, with the Mountain Drake available, Baron being up on the map, Afreeca could just go for a Baron attempt. Alternatively, you take all 5 members, run DAMWON out of the red side jungle, and then Ryze ultimate into the Baron, and then just burst it immediately. That's a play that we sometimes see in professional play, although I don't think that it's utilized as much as it should be.
The
when
classic
Ryze is there.
Bjergsen Realm Warp, as he popularized.
Yeah, that is one of the best plays in LoL history.
Yeah.
The top lane Ryze ultimate.
Yep. It was very nice. Speaking of top lane Ryze, he's on the bottom side of the map. And takes DAMWON down to having only a couple of turrets remaining. And this Baron might also be taken. Ragnarok going to be used here. But Punch just going to use it, and then they're going to disengage from the Baron, and Flame's going to get taken down on the bottom side of the map. No, actually, Keen going to go golden for the moment. Nuclear's got a hell of a lot of damage, and finally, they're able to take him down, but the fight is going to break off yet again. It's a 4 versus 5.
Oh!
Syndra steals the Baron this time, and DAMWON may have found their way back in. Oh my god, it didn't happen the first time around. Showmaker gets his eye in, throws the right orb over, and steals it away from Dread.
That might be the end of the game. 3 inhibitors are all still up. This Baron will persist on into Elder Dragon.
Look at the gold. There is so much standing gold on this map, and it's basically tied up here at 35 minutes into the game. I have no idea how Afreeca have this kind of a lead on structures and are this close in gold against DAMWON.
This is one of the predicaments that Keen finds himself in, is in the isolated 1v1, he would end up beating Flame, but Nuclear able to be here, as realistically, there's no way for DAMWON to try to stop the Baron. Outside of Syndra trying to steal it with a QE, and that's exactly what she ends up doing, and Senin did his job perfectly, knocked the Olaf away from the Baron. That Syndra is, she's quick with her hands.
Yeah,
see
absolutely. But
right
do you know what happened just there? That was Dread smiting early, my friend. So I'm not going to give too much. I mean, Showmaker was able to time his abilities right to get in there, but that was onus on Dread to pick up that that objective. And so far, the Freecs demonstrating that also their jungler having a few struggles here in game number 1 of the day.
And one of the predicaments that they're going to find themselves in is 15 seconds on this Dragon. And Showmaker and Nuclear are massive, and I talked about this in the pick ban. Everything was looking like Afreeca was going to win. They got the things necessary. They had the Baron. They didn't utilize it to the best of their ability, and now the game has reached a state where it's even. Well, actually, DAMWON's favored now at this point. But in even game states, DAMWON's team composition is vastly superior because you have no access to Ezreal or Syndra.
And also, the Kha'Zix pick feels relatively irrelevant at this point in time as well. I mean, he just explodes, doesn't have a GA or anything like that to keep himself alive. Broke that stopwatch very early on as Senin looking to make his engage. Showmaker keeps himself well and truly alive in the backline as Brook is going to go into stasis. Dread in trouble on the backline. It's a trade of 1-for-1 for the moment as Brook has to use his Zhonya's as well. But he's in amongst 4 people. Gonna go down to the extra level of stasis as well. Held on to that stopwatch as Nuclear.
Keen got him.
Could be in trouble. Keen could be able to pick this one up. Does get the 1,000 gold. Will trade it back immediately, but now Showmaker has to flash his soul. Gets himself in there. That's a free hitting Sivir, and that's a big deal and a huge problem for DAMWON.
And Punch, I think, needed to just kill those minions. And now, because he didn't, I'm unsure what they're going to do. They could try to buy stopwatches and clear the minion wave. They do have the Baron buff. They have a Guardian Angel on the Aatrox. They need to just try to get all the minions down, but
Senin's in trouble. They do get one of the Nexus turrets. It's only 1 turret remaining here for DAMWON Gaming. As with the inhibitors respawning, Afreeca, like you say, just going to back off, take the objective in front of them, and move on out. So the game is not going to end just yet.
Oh, man.
And we might have a flank teleport. Like we were talking about, Brook has no way to make himself untargetable just yet. And is going to use that ultimate here on Beryl as Senin comes in once more. Flame gets the flank that he wants. Punch not going to be able to offer too much damage as now finally the next teleport comes in as Nuclear turns up to the fight. Senin will be the one to go down, but Keen turns up in the fight as well. And as the dust settles, that's a 1-for-1 trade at the end of the day.
It's a 1-for-1 in the end. Syndra trying to reestablish control over the middle lane as Afreeca might just set their eyes on the Elder Dragon. And I'm really hoping that we get a replay of that fight as DAMWON really got outplayed inside of it. There shouldn't have been a way that Ezreal and Syndra went down, but now looks like we're going to have an all-in flip here. Both junglers have smite, but Punch, the story of this game has been that he's lost every smite.
Yeah, he's going to be able to pick that one up. Exactly right. So Redemption's going to come down, but DAMWON's health bars are falling way faster. Nuclear alive on the backline, but not anymore as the Arcane shifts right into the open maw of this Afreeca Freecs squad. Finally, they will find the team fight that they're looking for, and finally Keen gets the redemption that he's been looking for all season. His rise was 0-1 moving into this game, but we knew that you had to respect it. It's only 5,000 gold to lead, but one Nexus turret stands between the Afreeca Freecs and a victory over DAMWON Gaming.
And right here, Galio not even going to bother trying.
He can't. Nothing he can do. The Afreeca Freecs will win game number 1 over DAMWON. A surprise victory in the end, but Soul playing his heart out on the Sivir in a great position. But honestly, I felt like this was more